G'day, how's everyone going? Um, what a crazy time. The numbers just keep going and going and going, and it's, it's hard to know what's going to happen next. Um, so I just want to say thank you to those that subscribed, and thank you for everyone that's watched this first video that I have. It's pretty amazing to me, even though most other people that you see in YouTube channels have millions and thousands of people, but I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm going to keep going, just see what happens. I've got the time. So I kind of want to kind of thresh out with the last message that I have about learning to tolerate pain. So this is called Learning to Tolerate Pain 2. And it's strictly, for men. And the reason that is, it's not because I'm sexist or anything like that. It's because I am a man. Fundamentally. So, um, and I think, you know, we've we've seen a lot of things change in the last decade that men have almost had to apologize for being who they are. You see the Me Too movement that's kind of generalized men of being this certain type of person. Then I know a lot of good men out there that are not like that, that are not like the Harvey Weinsteins or the Bill Cosbys out there. You know, and so I think it's not even about what I think. The statistics are huge around the amount of men that suicide, that had mental health problems. And I think predominantly the reason is because they don't want to talk, don't want to show any vulnerability, don't want to show any sort of weakness, which is valid. I understand that, but it's not good. It's not good. You've got to show vulnerability. You've got to show, to someone to let things out. So this is a message for men, how to be men, how to be strong men in this day when at times the odds are stacked against you. First scripture in Psalms, it says, "Blessed be the Lord my strength, which teaches my hands to war and my fingers to fight." Now that's a cool scripture. And it's even by a cooler author called David. Now, if you don't know the story of David, David was this amazing king in the Bible. Did amazing things like slew Goliath, um, and he was almost missed in a kind of a family status contest. Samuel had to go and look for a king because God had kind of dismissed Saul because of disobeying him, and all of these brothers had come in front of Samuel, and the Lord said, "That's not him. That's not him." And Samuel said, "Is there another?" And it was David, and the Lord said, "That's him." Now David was kind of like the loser of the family. He was out looking after sheep, one of the jobs that no one would want to do. And he was a shepherd. But he was chosen that day and he was anointed to become the king of Israel and a man of God. And then we know he showed the Israelites and the Philistines that with the Lord you can achieve much. He was commissioned to be king and he defeated Goliath. And he was a warrior. And the great thing about that story to me is that he was an underdog. He was an underdog that had to overcome an important task. Now that is a narrative that is seeped in all of all of the cultures you can think of. If you think of the Maori culture, there was Maui, this kind of troublesome trickster that overcome things like pulling up the fish out of the sea and bringing down the sun. There was Hercules, who was like this bastard child of Zeus that overcome all the obstacles that he had to go through. And there's many other stories, and that narrative is seeped in our society. And it's, whether you believe in Carl Jung's archetypal theories or whatever, we do tend to kind of have this thing for underdogs. Moses is another story. Moses was a kind of a no one um, that became a king and then led his people out of Egypt. Now, the thing I want to focus on a bit here is, you know, most of us look to these amazing and fantastic things that these people do, like it's some sort of instantaneous miracle that happened. When they saw David's kill Goliath and chop his head off, people would have seen this. Wow, look at this hero, and stories would have gone on and on and on and on. And whether that happened or not, it doesn't worry me. It's what happened beforehand in these people's lives. That's what I'm interested in. What brought this person to that time in their life where they could achieve that? Because it just doesn't happen. And sometimes we fail to see the process that is often wrought with pain. It would have been painful for Moses' mother to kind of send him away. It would have been painful for him to leave his family from Egypt, and to lead his people out of where he was from. And the same was with David. Now, just kind of to generalize on David a bit more, when David came as a boy to see his brothers at this big fight between Israel and the Philistines, they had this big guy, Goliath, threatening everyone, saying, "Come, come to me and bring your greatest warrior to me." And kind of that kind of story, when I read that, reminds me of I can't remember what the movie was called. Brad Pitt was in it when he was Troy. When he was coming in and destroyed that fighter. That's kind of what it reminds me of. But anyway, David came and said, I can do it. I can take this guy down with the Lord. I can do anything. Saul said, you can't do it. You're just a boy. And Goliath has been a warrior since he was a boy. But we know in the story, David did do it. And I like what David said to Saul. He said, I've learned to fight the bear, the lion. I know how to fight. For it was in this hidden time, in his training, that David was developed over years to become this ultimate shepherd, of Israel. But it was that time when he was out by himself, looking after his sheep, protecting them. He probably would have spent a lot of time with the Lord at that time, but he would have spent a lot of time in isolation on his own, kind of having to kind of push into God more. And that's what I'm interested in, that character. Anyway, David spent most of his royal career in war. It was in him. When he became king, his son Absalom created a conspiracy, wanted to, kind of destroy David. At that time, David, hardened by war, hid in the caves. Spent a lot of time in caves because he knew it, because it was in him. He was birthed in solitude, and he knew adversity. Hardened by learning. He learned strategies as a young shepherd to face the toughest obstacles to become who he was. So it just didn't happen overnight. It wasn't just some sort of amazing magical kind of thing like Hercules. It was actually something that it was a path that was set before him that he had to kind of overcome. And see, this example and this story, and like I said, whether you believe it or not, doesn't matter. It's the story, that kind of pathway. See, because he's an excellent example for men to aspire to. You see, the Lord is looking for men that know how to rise, particularly in these times now. Just as pressing into the Lord was David's kind of strategy when things were getting tough, so too this same strategy would enable anyone to fight the battles we had to face. Now, David's battles were a kind of physical warfare, and to me, that's not what it's about. It's about that discipline, overcoming this thing that is in here, like climbing that mountain. And it's a real discipline. And Christianity is a discipline too to me. It's not just a matter of going to church to me. Like if it was, I wouldn't be in it. If I was into Buddhism, I'd be hard out into that discipline. That's just who I am. I try to go hard at what I do. And so I do it with Christianity. There's a scripture here I want to share. It says, "Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth." Basically, what that's saying is pretty straightforward. If you're lazy, you're not going to get anywhere. But if you're a hard worker, you will. You'll achieve and overcome. And nothing can beat hard work, you know. And I want to kind of put the prosperity ideology aside because the Lord's indifferent to that. I think this is speaking to those who are refusing to give themselves to discipline, whatever it be, whatever discipline you're involved in. You think about the most wealthy men, millionaires around the world, they have to be hard workers, and wealth's not what it's about for me, but it's about anything. Anything that you choose to work hard at, you'll achieve something out of it. Now, we often have this idealistic view, vague view that the Lord will just bring things to pass. Like I said before, like it's just this kind of amazing, magical thing that happens. Like David was this kind of person that came out of nowhere. No, it doesn't just happen. It's with work. This kind of attitude that everything will work out without any work needed. Not only is this lazy, but it's unscriptural. Neither does it fit with the reality that we must face in life, that without real work, many will not be a success. Now, and it depends on what you think is a success too. I mean, this is all relative. I've spent years working with young men, probably hundreds of young men. And I've got to be honest, those that do well in making changes in their lives are hard workers. And the great thing about that is, it doesn't matter about their upbringing. Predominantly, most of them were from maladaptive upbringings. That's not it. Where they learned their hard work, I don't know. But they did well. And those that didn't do well were lazy. And laziness is a killer. It's a killer. It can destroy you. That's why, as men, we've got to be hard workers. But we are at a really tough time right now. Really tough time. I remember listening to a word years ago when a man said, we have not known war. I have not been in a war. I was not in World War One. I was not in World War Two. I was not in the Vietnam War, and I vaguely remember the war in Afghanistan. We have not known war. But we have to learn to fight. Now, I'm not talking about with this. I'm talking about getting into warfare with the Lord. Now, that takes real discipline. I have a real system that I use every day. I do some fairly hard exercises, weights, burpees, pull-ups, all the things that you hate to do. And I never like doing it, but I push myself to do it because I know it's a discipline. I can say that maybe once in a blue moon, I'm actually enjoying doing it. And you might think, well, that's crazy. Why are you doing it? I'm doing it because it's something I don't want to do. And because it's healthy. And the other part of that system is I fast quite a lot. I've been intermittent fasting for the last 3 years, where I have like one meal a day. I mean that's that's not for everybody, but it has helped me a lot on my health. And I meditate and I pray. And when I'm praying, I'm really pushing into the Lord. I am really pressing on him. I'm saying to him, you remember these things you said to me. I'm reminding him every day. I'm reminding him of the people that I care about, the people I love, all these people that are that I know. Like I said in the last video, there's hundreds of people that I pray for to cover them. And I've been doing that for the last 5 years, real hard out. I didn't know what was going to happen now, but you see, now is when it matters. Now is when my prayer matters. And I believe that those that I'm praying for are covered. Whether they are or not is another kind of issue, but I believe it. And I stand before the Lord, just like David. Just like when David stood before Goliath, and and took him down, or when he stood before that lion and that bear and took him down, or he stood before the enemies of the Lord and took them down, he had faith and knew that the Lord is with me. And I'm doing the same. As a man of God, I believe he's with me. Now that, to me, is what it takes to be a man. That's what it takes to be a man. Fundamentally thinking of others, loving others, caring for others, being aware of your responsibilities as a man, around the moralities, around all these things that we need to do. And so to me, just to finish up, being a man is being a man, not being a good man is doing that for the people around you, because we have more of an effect on people around us than we realize. You even notice, like, if I have kids and a wife, and I can make such a difference in a situation with other people if my mood's different. If I'm moody, if I'm not feeling like I want to get involved, or if I, feel angry or stuff like that. That's a huge responsibility to kind of regulate that, to hold that. And not only that, you got to be strong in your resolve, strong in who you are, sure and secure in who you are. Because when you know who you are, that's when you're strong. And for me, knowing who you are is in the Lord. I mean, I know this is quite passionate, quite hard out, but that's what I believe. That's what it takes to become a man of God. Pressing into Him, knowing His voice, hearing from Him daily, and lifting up those before yourself. Thanks. Lifting up those around us, that's the responsibility we have. So I've seen a lot of fathers, a lot of men that have dismissed their children, their partners, or have been abusive, or unaware of the responsibility they have. I mean, that's a whole nother kind of story that I don't want to get into because of time, but that's the responsibility we have. We've got to be strong, particularly now. And there are going to be times when you're not going to want to be strong. There are going to be times when you're going to want to quit, where you're going to want to be stressed, and the worst thing you can do is act like nothing's wrong. That's the time when you need to talk to someone. See, and that's the time I have people I talk to. But predominantly, see, this is the last thing here. The one I talk to the most about the problems I have, or the stresses that are happening, or the things that are wrong, or what I'm thinking, and this crazy little head of mine at times, this obsessive head that I have at times, I talk to the Lord about it, and it does make me feel better. I just talk to Him, whether He's listening to me or not, guys. I still talk to Him, whether He's there or not. I still talk to Him, and I know He's there. So thank you for listening to this. I know it's pretty hard out, but thank you for listening. And I'm going to have another one after this as well. I've already thought about what I want to share next. That kind of knowing who you are as a man. So we're going to go with that. Thank you.